Well, hello there everybody, my name is TreeBurgers and welcome back to more Crossout. So I promised you a video on the new Yongwang weapon and I am gonna bring that to you today. So we're gonna go through a full test of this weapon, see what it's all about, the damage, the perk, how it works, what it can work with, and all those sorts of things. So hopefully this video will be able to answer most of the questions that you might have about this weapon. So the Yongwang is a grenade launcher that takes up 9 energy, has a durability of 423 points, as well as a mass of 495. This leaves us at the lower end of mass, and it does not have all that much durability considering the size of the weapon. The weapon comes with 40 volleys of ammo. This means that this weapon will benefit from ammo boxes, and slapping on just one ammo box will give us a total of 84 shots, which in a fight should be more than enough for a weapon with a total of 3 seconds cooldown. Since this is a weapon that is reload based, it's also going to benefit from engines such as the Colossus or the Hot Red or the Oppressor engine, as all of these engines will buff reload speed of weapons. Now the weapon comes with a rather unique perk that says damage is increased by 15% for each unit energy spent on hardware. Now, one thing that is very important to remember is that hardware is all of these things, so all of the things in here that will take up energy will also increase the damage of the Yongwang. If we go ahead and sort all hardware by energy, we can see that we have a bunch of different options. Now, it's worth noting that the perk does not have a limitation, so we can use all of the 7 energy that we potentially have left if we combine this with an Apollo and put all of those into hardware, meaning that we will get a total of 105% damage increased on the weapon. Now, if we were to put a Colossus engine in here, we would get 1 extra energy drain, meaning that we now use 1 energy on hardware, which means that we get 15% of extra damage on the Yongwang. On the other hand, if we combine it with an Aegis, the Aegis takes up 3 energy points, meaning that we're going to get 45% extra damage from the 3 energy that we have put into hardware, since the Aegis Prime is taking up 3 energy. Before we test the damage with each of the components, we're going to go ahead and just test the damage of the actual weapon itself. Now, I have experienced that the weapon damage will vary a bit whenever we shoot, but we're going to shoot just now and see that we get 243. The damage has varied from between 240 to 245, and I take it that it's because this weapon brings no projectile damage, but purely explosive damage, and we're going to get into what that means in just a second. But before we get into the functionality of the grenades themselves, I want to show you exactly how the damage buff works, which means that the perk is, or how the perk gives us different bonuses. So as I said before, if we put on a Colossus here, we should now have 15% increased damage. And when we shoot the DPS meter, we can see that we now deal 279. And as I showed before, with the Aegis on here, we're now going to be able to deal 351 damage. So as I mentioned earlier, this weapon can get a total of 105% damage increase if we put all of the energy into modules. So I've made this creation which spends all of the energy left over on only modules together with the cockpit cabin. So with this build, we will get 105% damage increased with the weapon itself and the hardware on here, but it's also stacked with the cockpit cabin. And as you can see, once we boost, we get 50% increased damage. So all of this combined means that we can, with this weapon, deal a total of 743 damage. Now, in case you end up losing some modules, in this case, we have the Colossus, the Chameleon, and the Verifier on a Rift. So if I drop these, we now have 3 modules less, meaning that we just lost 45% damage increase. You can see that from the damage here, because if I now go ahead and boost again and shoot, we now only deal 582 compared to the 740 something that we dealt before. Now, one of the most suggested things has been to combine this weapon with a cap can, but as I will show you now, the cap can does not buff the damage. The reason that the cap can does not buff the damage is because the cap can is considered a mine layer, which is a weapon, and a weapon does not count as hardware, even though it is not an active weapon as such. It is more so a supportive weapon. Now we know from testing that once we shoot that, the total damage will be around 242, 243, and as we shoot that up there, the balls explode immediately. But if we so happen to shoot and we don't hit anything, the grenades will lie on the ground, and they will lie there until they either blow up by themselves, which usually happens spontaneously. Those were kind of symmetrical, but sometimes it seems like there is sort of a randomized delay to them. I don't really know what causes this exactly, or if it's even supposed to be like that. Just see here. Nope, they all explode at the same time now. So maybe previous tests has been because of latency or whatever. At least you can see it in the previous video that I did on the test server. But these grenades will lie here for a set time, and they will explode as soon as an enemy goes over them. In case it touches an enemy, then they won't lie there until they run out. They will just explode just like the Fortune. Now, since we know that the damage is 243 on direct hits, we know that the damage can be either projectile or explosive damage. The way that we can sort of see how much is what is by shooting the wall here. And when we shot the wall, we can put our cabin over here and see how much damage we take. There we are, 215. I'm interested in doing that again because previous tests has shown that the damage can actually be as much as we hit the absorption spheres for, and why this is important I'll tell you in just a second. So if we now get hit by one ball, let's just see if we can just bring one over here. I think that is actually the best we're gonna get. There we are, 46 damage and 1 wide damage, which is probably just some explosive damage to the frame. Now, if we again go down to the absorption sphere down here and just shoot that one quickly, or we could just simply go over here and shoot our Leviathan and shoot the cabin of that thing. We can see that each of the shots actually land for around 46 to 47 damage. So this also means now that we've shot our cabin over there, our own cabin before, and taken the explosive damage, means that actually the balls are dealing 100% damage as explosive damage, so they don't have any impact damage, which something like cannons, for example, have. They have a projectile damage, which is the direct hit that builds will take from getting hit, and then they have an explosive damage as well, which deals damage to the surroundings. These balls don't have any added projectile damage, so explosion damage will happen from wherever the grenade explodes. This is important to know because this will affect how much damage the impact deals to the surrounding parts. If only partial of the damage was explosive damage, well then the explosion itself wouldn't cause as much damage to the surrounding in total compared to where you hit, but here this is not the case. So now what we can go ahead and do is we can go ahead and shoot this wall right here, and we can see if we can just get one of these bolts close to our little test setup right here. And that exploded somewhat in the middle of all of them. At least we lined up a total of 16 of these tiny ones, and we lost 4 on one side and we lost 5 on the other side. So this means that the explosion radius is about, I would say, probably rather 6 than 7 blocks. To see if we can get that to align just a bit better. That looks just about perfect. There we are. So we now lost 5 on one side and just 3 on the other side. And I just completely misspoke that. What I actually meant was an explosion radius of 8, not 6. So as we could see from the impact, we on one side lost 5, and on the other side we lost between 3 and 4 in each of the tests. And I think we might have lost 1 extra if it hit like dead center between 2 parts. It might sometimes spread out, but the most obvious would be 8, as this is the explosion radius of many explosives in Crossout. As with any damage modifier in this game, the weapon will also benefit from something like the Yanabi, and as we've already established in previous videos, as long as you are drifting while you shoot, well then the damage will be stored in the grenade until the grenade is exploding, either because it hit an enemy or simply because the timer runs out. So the damage will always be stored as long as you just have the perk active when you fire. So if I fire, let's see if you can even get this massive junk looking thingy to drift. There we are. So it drifted, and these grenades will now have 20% regardless if I'm still drifting when they explode. Now that is pretty much all we have for the new Yongwang weapon. If there's anything I missed in here, please don't hesitate to leave a comment down below, and I'll try to see if I can cover it in the comments. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, stay safe. Bye bye.